Hi all, this is Skate, and in this video we're going to have a quick look at the Blitz Football Championship event, and then we're going to have a quick chat about the AMX CDC, and I will show you some gameplay as well. Basically what I want to do is try and give you as much information in the shortest period of time possible with the AMX CDC, and then you can make your decision from there. Surprisingly, a lot of people already have this tank, and you don't really see it that much on the battlefield, and there is a reason for that. But like I said, we'll go through that in a minute. Let's have a look at this event. It is, in my opinion, the most concealed event by Wargaming to date. And the reason I say that is because of these different stages or football matches. So if we look at the main event first, and then we're going to look at the football games. So there's two rows. The bottom one is opened with footballs. The bottom row basically gets you to the attachment for this tank. It doesn't get you the actual tank. But to unlock the attachment, you need to get footballs. To get to this stage, you need 12 in total, which is the second stage. But you need 8 to unlock this specific second stage. Onto the third stage, you will need a total of 21 footballs in total, or 9 to unlock the third stage. On to the fourth stage, you will need 30 to unlock this stage, which means by this point you need a total of 51 footballs. And then on to the last stage, you will need a total of 100 footballs to unlock all stages, or 49 balls for the very last stage. And that gets you the attachment. And here is the attachment on the AMX CDC. It's basically just footballs in the back basket and a net on the side of the tank. Now, if you're a football fan, this may be massively appealing to you. In the interest of honesty, and personally, I'm not a huge football fan. I know I'm in the minority, so to speak. But for me, as a personal standpoint, this attachment doesn't really appeal to me a huge amount. I mean, the thing that got me into Blitz in the first place was machinery. I like things with engines, to simply put it. So unless it goes fast, makes some noise, or produces too much carbon emissions, it's not really up my street. But that's the bottom row of that main event. Let's have a quick look at the top row to get you to the AMX CDC, and then we can start trying to break things down. So, for the top row, you need to obtain trophies. To unlock the first one, you need 1 trophy. To unlock the second one, you need 2 trophies, which means you're going to need 3 in total by this stage. To unlock the third stage, you're going to need 3 trophies, which means you need 6 in total by this stage. And then onto the fourth one, you are going to need 4 trophies, which means 10 in total, and then the last one, 5. So you need 15 trophies in total. And this is where it gets a little bit convoluted and a little bit concealed. To get the trophies and to get the footballs, you need to go to this secondary event, which is below it. First up is the Blitz Time Russia. And within this event, you can obtain a total of 10 footballs and 1 trophy. And you've got, well, pretty much 2 days, but I'm late making this video. So you would have had 2 days to make this. I'm going to have about 1 day. But if you take a straight through path, you're going to need 4,050 pins. But to get as many footballs as you can, you want to try and collect every single route possible. To do so, you're going to need 4,650 pins. Now, to get pins, very simple. For every 100 base XP you get 10 pins. If you have Premium Time activated, you get 50% more. Couple of ballparks for you. If you have Premium Time activated and you want every slot, you need 4,650 pins. Divide that by 1,000 XP, i.e. 150 pins per 1,000 XP, you only need 31 games with Premium. In a day, that's not so bad. If you're averaging 800 base XP, you're looking 39 games, again with Premium, and the same sort of figures without, rounded up to 47 games and rounded up to 58 games. Best recommendation I could personally make is order your tanks via base XP, and then pick one of them, probably the one with the highest battles out of them, because it shows more consistency, and use that tank. But remember, that's 4,650 is just to complete this Russian Blitz time. Any pins you don't use or you make extra during this event are then lost, and you have to start again on the next one. They don't accrue, they reset on every different match basically. Here's where things get a bit different. After you've done this Russian time, you have France, you have Japan, you have Germany, and then you have England matches. we have no idea how much XP you are going to need because it's concealed. So we can't give a full breakdown of this event, only the first stage in this video. And that's a bit frustrating in my eyes, because at that point we're now locked in, or you're at a stage where you've invested too much time, you have to try and push as much as you can. Naturally, every stage is going to get harder and harder, with obviously the last ones being the hardest. And then this is the only final other change. Camo. You've got camo for specific nations. You don't have to use specific nation tanks. However, if you use specific nation tanks with the camo, you're going to get an extra 50% on top of the previous figures shown. Now that's great news, but obviously this is going to cost you. And it's going to cost you in gold. So, I wouldn't waste your money on camos, unless you want the camo, of course. At the very early stages, push through it as much as you can. If you really want this tank, try and calculate how much you're going to need towards the later stages, and then go for them. But yeah, this is a very clever way of making you dip gold at a different stage, and also concealing the way in which we don't know how much we're going to need at the next stages. And it's the first time this has happened in Blitz. I've never not been able to give a breakdown of the full event, how much you're going to need in total across the duration of battles. This is where this one differs. I physically can't say, because Wargaming haven't given us access. I actually looked for ages over this event, thinking I'm just missing something, and that's why maybe I couldn't find the other battle screens. You can't find the other matches, so we don't know how much you're going to need until each stage is unlocked. So, sadly, that's pretty much the gist of all we can explain on the event at this point. Again, I may have missed it, but usually people leak this stuff. I haven't seen this leaked even. If I do come across this information, I'll make an updated video so we can at least get some form of idea what is expected of us during the entire event. And then the most important question, is the AMX CDC even worth the aggro? Well, to sum the tank up best, it has a gun which is to die for in terms of accuracy, penetration, reload. It's a really, really nice gun. The mobility is through the roof. This thing accelerates like no tomorrow. This, however, is the reason we don't see them often on the battlefield. The armor is staggeringly abysmal. You're looking 30 on the front of the turret, on the front of the hull. You're looking 20 on the sides of the hull and the turret, and you're looking 20 on the rear of the hull and the turret. It is god-awful in terms of armor. The vast majority of tanks you come up against are going to penetrate this tank all day long. If anything like an SU comes near you, anything with a big caliber gun, hell, even ISs at this tier, you're dead. They're just going to HE you to hell and back and to death. And usually I'd use the expression, it's as big as a tank. But this thing really is. It is absolutely massive. Now you imagine a tank this big with that little armor. People turn their guns to look at you because they see an opportunity to splash so much HE all over you. Something this big, when you're out or you're exposed, it's really not hard to hit it. Yes, you can get some troll bounces off the gun mantlet. That's absolutely no issue at all. But you're more than likely going to get penetrated with HE the vast majority of the time, which is why we don't see these things often on the battlefield, because they're frustrating little tanks. No, they're frustrating massive tanks. Now, that's not to say it's a bad tank, but there's a seriously big drawback to this tank. And in my eyes, it's not a tank for the inexperienced. When you see an inexperienced player in this thing, well, it's a hit point pinata at that point. It really is. It's so easy to take one of these things apart when it's not using its best strengths. I mean, its best strengths are its mobility, and its gun depression, and its penetration and rate of fire. This thing, by the way, has 10 degrees of gun depression, which makes it very, very nice on ridgelines. But it's one of those tanks that when someone pushes you or you're exposed, you're done for. Now, I wanted to include this game even though it is a loss because it highlighted some of the strengths at the start in terms of spotting and gun depression. Even though it's a weak tank, you still need to do the spotting because you're a fast tank. Also highlighted things like being hit by HE and then being rushed by tanks who just see you as hit point pool. So that's the reason I want to include that one. I think it highlighted a lot of strengths and negatives about this tank. And I think it's important the negatives are highlighted with the positives on this tank. Very much so on this tank, because of how lightly armoured it is and how big it is. And a lot of people play tier 8 to grind credits. So some people will sit there and say, well, why would I play this if I can play something which is considerably better, considerably power creeping? Most tanks are tier 8. Not looking at any ISs or a mod 1. But if you're just playing it to grind credits, then yeah, why would you play this if you could play the others, be a little bit more consistent, potentially, and not make as much credits? Well, the straight answer is some people love this tank. Even though it is a big hit point pool with very thin armor holding those hit points in position. And the reason people love it is because it's a challenging tank to play. And thus a challenging tank, when you have a good game, is also a very rewarding tank. It's also quite fun how blisteringly fast this thing is. T49s love you, by the way. They will chase you everywhere, because they can pretty much keep up with you and take off half your hit points in one shot. And it's not even a case of if they penetrate you. It's a case of when they penetrate you, or where they're going to penetrate you. 30 front, 20 sides, 20 rear. They're really not going to struggle to penetrate you. But regardless of that appalling armor, it is quite fun to play. And I do enjoy playing this thing from time to time, because it is fast, and it is fun, and it has a lovely gun on it. It's just not designed to be shot at. Your job, quite simply, is to be a support tank, is to run a flank, is to run a different direction. If you're getting shot at, you need to relocate. You need to try and use as much gun depression as you can. The more gun depression you use, the less of your tank that is exposed. It's as easy as that. If something starts chasing you, you've got 2,466 DPM. But it's not worth trying to gamble it, because whatever they're trading, well, they're gonna win, because they're just gonna go HE. Even a Centurion with its 42mm of penetration on HE will then have 3,070 DPM. In other words, even a Centurion Mark 1 with HE is going to wipe the floor with you. If he can catch you, if you can play it at range, they can't catch you. And then you can run rings around them, popping out of a corner, popping a shot, getting back into cover, popping a shot. And that is the playstyle on this tank. And it is fun. It's just so frustrating sometimes. Especially when you're going to circle something like an IS-3, and then they end up nailing you for 500 damage. So I think to sum it up best, it is a nice, fun little tank. But I don't think it's a tank for people who are new to the game or inexperienced on the game, because it is a very challenging tank. It's also a tank you've really got to concentrate in, because one mistake and that's it. You're going to lose a huge chunk of hit points. And that's why I've focused more than anything on trying to make it crystal clear that it is a good tank. It is a fun tank with its gun and its mobility, but it is a really challenging tank to play at the same time. And in terms of credits, I wouldn't say it's outstanding for a tier 8 premium. I mean, there's nearly 5,000 damage and we got 122,000 credits. I could make that all day long in a Lerva doing 3,000 damage. Or even in a Super Persian, I could come close to that with considerably less damage, or even a T34. So yeah, sadly, this video has left a lot of open-ended questions, because we can't confirm what the next stages of the event are. And we can't confirm how much time it's going to take you within those 2-day periods to get the appropriate amount of pins, to get the appropriate amount of things to get the tank. And I can't give a definitive work hard to get this tank, because it's well worth it, because it is going to fall personally down on preference. If you enjoy this sort of playstyle and you enjoy challenging tanks, you will enjoy this one. But it is very much a Marmite tank. Some people are going to absolutely love it and some people are going to hate it, and that is the precise reason it's so rare on the battlefield. I hope you've enjoyed the video though, and what we can obtain in terms of information for the event. Thank you all for watching, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye bye.